Hello, everyone. It's Reverend Deanna Cox here with your midweek reflection on this Groundhog Day. This second month, the second day of the 22nd year. Candlemas is halfway through winter. All hopeful and delightful things. I wanted to share with you today some thoughts that I had this morning. First, I want to reassure you. People often ask how I am and express their worry for me. And so I want to reassure you that I am fine. I am well and I am safe. And I'm actually really good. And I want to share with you kind of how I got there, because that's not how I woke up this morning. I was feeling very overwhelmed. I was sad, frustrated, confused, angry, and that was just within an hour of waking up. On one hand, I feel very called to speak out and to act, or to at least, the very least, to inspire others to act, or to speak out against the injustices and the abuse of privilege that is happening in our world, and in particular in our country. And then on the other hand, I worry about the repercussions of acting and speaking out. How will family and friends respond? How will the broader community respond? And there's a very likely chance that I will get verbally attacked if I do. I know that's a common worry that I've heard others share. About any kind of issue. It doesn't matter what it is. I'm talking in broad generalities today. If we speak out against the norm, especially today in this social media landscape, we run the risk of getting completely lambasted. And that's hard. Not all of us can take that. And so we run the chance that we will be verbally attacked, whether that's on social media or at our coffee gatherings or in the grocery store or on the street. And we might even lose friends if we speak the way our heart is calling us to. A colleague reminded me this morning that being able to choose silence is a privilege. And that really struck me. I've been kind of keeping my head down, and I hadn't thought much about how choosing to be silent is very much a privilege that a lot of people don't have. I am reminded that my vocation, my calling as a minister, calls me to seek justice, to lift up the voices of the marginalized, and to love my neighbor. It's quite a tall task, no small feat. That's a tall order. That's kind of heavy laden. And then I started to think that the scripture coming up for this week is about the calling of Simon, the calling of the first disciples of Simon, James, and John. And I started to think, I wonder if they felt this way when Jesus said, leave your nets and follow me. Maybe not in that moment, but I wonder if along their journey they felt this weight if they felt frustration and overwhelmed with the task that they signed up to do, yet not able to turn away from it either. And as I wondered about that, I started to think of other people that were called to ministry, like Moses, leading his people into the wilderness, dealing with their constant complaining. You gotta tell me that he felt overwhelmed from time to time. And then I thought about Jonah. Like, God told him to go to the most God-forsaken place and to preach good news. or Jeremiah. We talked about Jeremiah last week, and how as a young boy, young adult, he was called to prophecy about the destruction of Judah, and it didn't make him very popular to speak his truth to power. And you know what? As I started to think about our biblical tradition and the stories that we have in there, I realized I'm not alone, though it so often feels like it. And if I'm not alone, then you aren't alone. We come from a very long tradition of prophets, justice seekers, and fierce advocates of love. We come from ancient teachers who knew what it is like to be a voice in the wilderness, who know how hard it is to speak truth to power, to risk it all and put love first. We know that. We come from people that know that. That is part of our DNA. It is part of who we are. We are not alone. And then I started to smile because last night in our Bible study on an introduction to the Psalms, we read Psalm number 1. And in it, it says, "Happy are those who do not follow the advice of the wicked, but their delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law they meditate day and night." And Reverend Scott was leading the reflection that last night, and he talked about how meditation isn't how we think of meditation, of sitting there silently and focusing on our breath, and meditation in the time of the Hebrew scriptures was simply reciting the passages out loud. Actually, very similar to what I've just done here with you. Out loud, recounting the stories of our faith, of our tradition. Not the Psalms specifically, but just reciting our tradition out loud. And, you know, it helped. I don't feel so heavy or so alone anymore, knowing that that there are this book after book of stories about people that have been through the same thing. And so as I continued to reflect on how might Jesus respond to our world today, and how I might answer the call of my heart and the call of my vocation, and my thoughts turned to the calling of the first disciples, I realized that their lives before meeting Jesus was hard. They faced many injustices, corruption, and prejudice. And I'm sure they were smart enough to realize that following Jesus wouldn't have been a piece of cake either. And so I still don't really know what to do with the ponderings of my heart, but they no longer feel so heavy. And I no longer feel so quite so alone. And so I thought I would encourage you to take this advice from the psalmist and to meditate on God's law today. And every day, and especially if you find yourself in a moment like I did, where the world feels heavy, but you still have this kind of like ember inside of you that is calling you to do something, and you don't know what to do with it. I encourage you to sit down with the Bible, pick a psalm. A lot of them in there, you probably find one. There's 150 to choose from, as we heard last night. They tend to be either songs of praise or songs of lament. And so I'm sure you can find something in one of them that fits how you're feeling. And read it out loud. Perhaps read it out loud over and over. Or find a passage that brings you comfort or joy or healing and read it out loud. And maybe, like what happened for me, you will feel a little lighter and a little more able to do what God is calling us to do. So I hope this pondering of my heart finds a place for you, and that I remind you that I am well, I am good, and I actually feel a lot lighter now. So thank you, and I hope that you can feel the same. Take care. God bless you in your discernment, in your call to action, call to discipleship, in your call to love your neighbor as yourselves. Take care. Bye.